Hello everyone, let's continue our discussion on the topic of web. In today's lecture, we are going to learn all about the HTML file format. HTML stands for hypertext markup language. Majority of the websites on the internet are built using HTML file format. We are going to learn how to create our own website as part of today's lecture demo. So you might be wondering, why exactly are we learning about the HTML file format in an intro to data science course? Let me give you a twofold reason for that. The first reason is that you want to be able to build your own website in order to publish or host your dataset for the rest of the community. The second reason is that you want to be able to parse the HTML file format in order to leverage all the data sets available over the internet. Unfortunately, parsing HTML file format is not as simple as parsing JSON file format. JSON was built with programmatic parsing objective, whereas HTML was built mainly with an appealing objective. In Monday's lecture, we are going to learn all about HTML file parsing. Excuse me. In today's lecture, we are going to learn the basics of HTML file format. Let's talk about the term hypertext. Whenever you have a text which contains a hyperlink, that text is called as a hypertext. What is a hyperlink? Any link that you can click on which takes you from one web page to another web page is called as a hyperlink. Here is an example of a simple web page which contains a couple of hypertext. When I click on the contact link, that's going to take me to the contact.html web page which contains some details. Whenever you try to access a particular website on your laptop, a couple of steps need to happen in order to successfully access that particular website. Let me go over those steps for you. Let's say that you have your favorite browser open on your laptop and you're trying to access a specific URL. Your laptop generates a HTTP request to the remote computer, which is identified using the domain name included as part of the URL. As part of your HTTP request, you'll mention what resource you're looking for from the remote machine, and your remote machine is going to process the HTTP request and send a HTTP response which contains the content of the resource file. In this particular example, that's going to be the HTML file format. Let's talk about step number 2 next. Step number 1 was mainly about using HTTP protocol to transfer the content of the HTML format for the web page back to your computer. Step number 2 is about parsing the HTML file format in order to render the page on your web browser. Web browser automatically takes care of parsing for you. For instance, it will look at the text hello and it will see that it needs to change the format to bold, and then it will look at the text world and change it to italicized format. In today's lecture, we are going to learn all about the HTML file format tags. Let me first show you a couple of examples over here. I have two URLs. I've opened both of those on my Chrome browser. The first URL contains a text file link, which is hello.txt. The second URL contains a HTML file link. Notice the difference between both of these pages. Even though the same content is displayed, the HTML page is formatted in a much different way than the simple text file. Let me show you a couple of things about HTML pages here. Whenever you have a web page, you can right click on it and you should be able to view the page source, which is going to show you the HTML file format for that particular web page. Since we have a very simple example over here, The HTML page source is also simple. Let me show you a couple of complex examples. Here is the course website. If I try to view the page source for the course website, you'll notice that we have a lot of HTML code. You're welcome to poke around the HTML format of the course website in order to understand how Mike and I release every lecture link. Let me show you one more example. Let's look at the page source for google.com. This is very complicated and it's dizzying to look at. I don't want to look at it. I'm sure you don't want to either. Right, so let me show you another thing about HTML web pages. Whenever you click, you can click on Save As, which is going to enable you to download a local copy of the HTML file. It will either have a .htm format or it could have a .html format. I have Jupyter Notebook open over here. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to edit a HTML file. I'm going to click on the checkbox and then I'm going to click on edit. That's going to open the HTML source code for me. Let's say that instead of having the second line italicized over here, I want to get rid of the italics tag. Before that, let me open the local copy of the HTML file that I downloaded. Notice that instead of using the website URL, right now we are showing the local HTML file on my laptop. So let me go back to modifying the source code. Right now, the second line is both bolded and italicized. I'm going to get rid of the italics tag over here. I'll shortly show you how the italics tag is formatted. Now that I've made some change, I need to reload the file. Notice that now the second line is just having a bold format. Alright, let's go back to the lecture slide deck so that we can talk about the italics tag and the bold tag. Let me first introduce to you the tag format in the HTML files. You're typically going to have an open tag and then a close tag, both of which contain the same text within angular brackets. So how can you differentiate between an open tag and a close tag? The close tag is going to have a / at the beginning of it. Whenever you want to format some text in a special way, you're going to include the open tag in front of the special text, and then you're going to include the close tag after the special text, and your special text will be formatted based on what tag you use around that particular text. So let's go through a few examples over here. I'm going to use this format to go through multiple HTML tags. The HTML source code is going to be on this rectangle up top, and you're going to see the rendered view, which is the view which you get on your web browser inside this laptop. Assume that your browser is open within the laptop. Whenever you just want to have text inside your HTML file, you can simply type the text in your source code and that will just get rendered without any issues. Let's say that we want to add a bold tag. Let's say that we want to bold the word test. We are going to include a bold tag beginning tag at the beginning of the special text test here, and then we are going to close the tag after the special text test, and that's going to bold just the word test for you. If you include page inside the tag, then you're going to get test page bolded. I stands for italic tag. You can just mention open italics tag and closed italics tag just like in the previous example, and that is going to italicize that particular text for you. Let's say that if you want to italicize the word this also, you'll add one more tag around this. You can have multiple italics or any kind of HTML tags occurring within the same line, of course also within the same file. You could have one tag within another. For instance, you can say that you want to have this both italicized and bolded. So you're going to mention the I tag outside and then the B tag inside. Then you're going to close the B tag first and then the I tag next. White space is typically ignored in HTML unless you specifically mention the correct tag format for it. So even if your source page has a lot of vertical white space, when the page is rendered, your browser is going to ignore all of that white space. So how can you mention vertical space? There are a couple of ways to do that. The first way is the paragraph tag, P in short. So whenever you have a paragraph tag, a new paragraph will begin on your rendered version of the website. So this is a test page is one paragraph. It is awesome is the second paragraph over here. The next way to mention vertical space is by using the BR tag, which stands for line break. Notice one difference between the tags which we have covered so far and the BR tag. Are you able to spot what that is? Go ahead and pause the lecture video and write a comment in the comment section stating what is new about the BR tag. The BR tag introduces a single line break. So if you have multiple BR tags, that's going to introduce multiple line breaks. So you're going to have multiple vertical white space between this is a test page and it is awesome. So what is different about the BR tag? There is no closing tag here. Such tags are often referred to as void elements. So whenever you have a void element, there are two different ways for you to represent that tag. You can just say the open tag as BR and not mention the close tag at all. Or you will also find a format where you have the tag mentioned as BR and then following that you're going to mention a forward slash and then close the angle brackets. So this is done on some of the websites in order to follow a particular HTML format for the purpose of parsing. So I usually prefer just to have the BR tag, but you can switch over to the BR forward slash tag if you prefer that. Let's talk about header tags next. Header tags enable us to define various sizes for specific text. Let's say that you want welcome to be in the biggest possible font, then you can mention that as header H1. H1 is the biggest size that you're going to get out of the header tags. Weirdly, H2 is smaller than H1. Notice that this is a test page is smaller than welcome. In the previous example, this is a test page was just a text that got displayed on the browser. Whereas when I switched it over to H2, that changes the format to a little bit of a different header tag over here, tagged format. Last I checked, there are 6 different versions of the H tag, so you can go anywhere from H1 to H6. Let's talk about how to create lists inside the HTML format. So I'm sure all of you have seen examples of web pages where they have either ordered list or unordered list. Let's first talk about unordered list. Unordered list is when you have bullet points, right? So you're going to have a list of bullet points where each item will be preceded by a bullet point. For that particular formatting, you're going to be using 2 different tags. The first tag is called the UL tag. The second tag is called the LI tag. You're going to have a UL open tag and close tag within which you're going to have multiple LI tags to represent each of your bullet point item. So this is an example, another example where you have another tag within one tag. So you need to have the LI tag within the UL or OL tag. OL stands for ordered list, UL stands for unordered list. The closing tag for LI is optional. So you're going to soon learn which part of the HTML is optional and which part is not, and you'll soon get used to all of that formatting really well. Unlike Python, learning HTML on your own is very easy. Uh, I'm quite sure that all of you can self-teach yourself the HTML format, and you can create wonderful web pages. All right, I am going to wrap up this video here. In the next video, we will go through demo problem 1.